To unpack this, I'm joined by Dr. Nnaemeka Obiaraeri, oil and gas expert, and of course consultant, Dr. Tobi Oluwatola, Chief Executive Officer at Tow Energy. Thank you, sirs, for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
All right, let's begin with you, Dr. Obiaraeri. Now, what's more pressing to you, seeing the refineries work irrespective of the model employed, or do you see assets that may never really work again?
To be honest with you, I align 110% with former President Olusegun Obasanjo. The marketers are busy playing games, and that refinery, as they are trying to revamp it, will never work under the arrangement. For history's sake, Olusegun Obasanjo remains one of the few three presidents, Gowon, Obasanjo, and Babangida, were the three head of states living that built three brand new refineries in Nigeria with combined nameplate capacity of 445,000 barrels a day. Obasanjo clearly understood that there is no way those refineries will work under the current public sector inefficiencies and profligacies. Remember, he was president for 8 years, 1999 to 2007. And Obasanjo was such a man who understood clearly what it takes to work and build that shell that built the first refinery in Nigeria. Refused to touch those refineries. We know what to do. What the current government is doing is a jamboree. If we want to fix those refineries, it's not as if they cannot be refixed. It's not as if they are the oldest refineries in the world. There are still refineries in Texas that are up to 1 and 2 years old. But under the current convoluted, profligate public sector arrangement, it will not work. If we want our oil and gas to work, what we should do is simple, what the Brazilians did. President Tinubu should muster the courage and guts and sell down 70% of the federal government shareholding in the NNPC, 30% to call deep-pocket technical savvy investors, 40% to Nigerians, list it on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange, just like Petrobras did. And in the next 2 years, you see those refineries working optimally. What they are trying to do is waste of money. Remember, Obiaraeri in 2018-19 told us they squandered over $3.5 billion. The refinery is working. Between 1999 till now, we have wasted between $18 billion to $25 billion. And the refinery is working. And Dangote said in 2019, today he has a 650,000 barrels per day refinery, functioning and operational at 100% capacity. Let's stop chasing shadows. Those marketers are playing games. Obasanjo is 100% correct. We have indulged again on a white goose game that will never work, and that's the truth.
When you say the marketers are playing game, I'm just wondering, to what end will that be?
I ask you this question. Who are the marketers? And what have been their antecedents in the oil and gas industry over the last 25 years? The same thing with Pengassan and all the rest of them who are always ready to go on strike. Every year we spend and waste 120 billion naira paying salaries and recurrent expenditure on refineries that are not working. These guys will never want an efficient system that works. The only corporation today that is working in Nigeria is Nigerian Liquefied Natural Gas. And it's working because it is 51% owned by private investors and 49% owned by the federal government with NNPC. We are not the only oil and gas producing companies. The Brazilians are not more honest than Nigerians, but they discovered clearly that the only way they can inject efficiency, transparency, and operational excellence in the oil and gas industry was to diversify and bring in public sector excellence, private sector excellence. Now, just close your eyes and imagine, in 2021, Obiaraeri gleefully told us that we lost $22 billion annually to different inefficiencies in the oil and gas sector. Nobody was arrested, nobody was prosecuted, he was not relieved of the job. Close your eyes and imagine if NNPC is divested and 30% shares are sold to Aliko Dangote, Tony Elumelu, and the rest of the core investors, and 40% sold to Nigerians. And then the GMD of the NNPC under that such transparent arrangement will come and announce that we are losing $22 billion of our resources to different agencies, and they don't sack him the next day and prosecute him. But the man got away with it and even stayed extra 4 years because he knows he's paddy in the jungle. The truth is, Olusegun Obasanjo has earned the right by the reason of the fact that he was the only president the only one out of 3 presidents that built brand new refineries, and the only one that had the guts to even sell down to the Blue Star Consortium that was cancelled by Yar'Adua. Every other game they are playing, telling you, go and watch it, mark it. If God gives us on this part of eternity, they will worth $2.5 billion. We will come back 2031. Those refineries are not working.
All right, thank you. I'll bring you to the technical equity partnership, along the line. But for now, let me come to you, Dr. Tobi. Dr. Tobi, talk to us. Do you share the same sentiment with him?
Why don't they just give it to the marketers? If the marketers are so confident that they can make it work, why don't they just form a consortium and take up the equity partnership and run the refinery? I think that my colleague is right in saying that NNPC has been playing games with us on a recurring basis, where they promise Nigerians that this time is the last time they spend money. The last time they went to Exim Bank and took a forward swap contract where that continues to put pressure on our budget, and God knows what will happen this time. So Petra, see, I'm not technically against the deal. So first off, let's start from the fundamentals. Those refineries are not great on fundamentals. First off, you have no business having a refinery in Kaduna. The pipeline that takes crude from Extravos to Kaduna, perpetually vandalized, perpetually broken. You don't have good inland waterways to get the crude there. And if you want to use trucks, good luck. That's a whole lot of trucks and lots of risk on the way. So first off, there are technical challenges, logistical challenges with the location of, that one refinery. The other two refineries, also we worry you also got a 45-kilometer pipeline, that again, similar logistical issues, and with Port Harcourt too, there are some challenges there, but Port Harcourt really generally has a chance. But my take is this, that if and I said this the last time, Petra, we spoke about this. My take is that if this is truly a technical equity partnership, as they say it is, then it's no different than what Obasanjo was proposing as a public-private partnership. If this truly is what they say it is, where the technical partners are bringing the equity to renovate the process, to renovate the refineries and get it working, there's any number of things that you can do with an asset like these refineries that can be immensely profitable for all shareholders. So if what it truly is a technical equity partnership where the foreign investor, the Chinese investor, and I must also add this, that because we're dealing with Chinese investors, I won't put it past them to come and fix these refineries and still be able to sell the petroleum for pennies on the dollar, because they're not looking for monster profits like the Shells of this world and the Egypts of this world. They're not looking for monster profits. They're looking for decent margins, but they're not looking for 100%, 200% margins. Their goal is just to be here and to put their foot on the ground and to build market share. So I wouldn't immediately dismiss it without seeing the agreements and seeing what nature of the contract is. But as with everything NNPC, everything is opaque. And in the end, we'll just hear that, NNPC is being asked to put up their share of cash call, and then you see them going to Exim Bank. I think that's where the problem always lies. We always end up on square one, where NNPC and government are putting in money, and that there is the problem, not the fact that there's a new agreement that brings private sector.
Dr. Oluwatola, I was almost asking if you were giving a pass mark to the Chinese firms, but I think I'll just put a question to you again, because you sounded sort of so sure before you then put the caveat.
So I'm not necessarily giving a pass mark to these Chinese firms. I think we all Nigerians were rightfully outraged by the lack of qualification of the Chinese firms that have been put forward. But like I argued, like I said the last time, again, even on that point, I won't be too quick to be dismissive, because more often than not, project developers are not necessarily the companies that will end up doing the engineering, procurement, and construction. More often than not, project developers are what they are called, project developers. They come, develop the project, spend their money to get the project to a certain level before the EPC companies are then contracted, who have the requisite skills and whatnot. But at the point, it is not at the point of EPC contracting that you have an idea of what EPC contracts you're bringing in. EPC contractor, the project developer is bringing in. You agree things like that ab initio, so that you know the quality of turnaround maintenance that is coming. So again, I because I also know that it more often than not, before whoever the Chinese developers are gets their signature, or whoever their bankers get the bankability that they need to finance the deal, they're gonna have to pass and get good EPC developers, EPC companies to get through that gate. So I'm not too worried about that. I think that it's just important that we are clear on what the contingent liabilities of this transaction are on Nigeria and Nigeria's government.
All right, thank you so much. Before we segue into the power sector now, I think it's also important because, a lot of the times I heard both of you talk about NNPCL. Let's also remember that it was NNPCL Group CEO, that's Tobi Oluwatola, that admitted that the state-owned refineries cannot run profitably under the current NNPC structure, which of course suggests to us exactly what you all have been saying. But I just wanted to put it there that he admitted to the fact that NNPCL cannot, run it successfully. Now, back to the power conversation. The Minister of Power, that's Joseph Tegbe, had said that the ministry would penalize underperforming distribution and generation companies and also implement tariff reforms, to support Nigeria's industrialization. What are your thoughts on this? Let's begin with you, Dr. Obiaraeri.
Firstly, we must acknowledge and appreciate the fact that the privatization program that happened in 2013 was shrouded in all manner of corruptions and inefficiencies, where assets worth over 3.2 trillion naira were sold out for a handout of about 403 billion naira, and then sold out to cronies of governments who did not present any deep-pocketed technical savvy competencies to run it. And basically what most of them did was just to do 100% leverage financing, enter there and started doing asset stripping without putting in new investment in that sector. All over the world, the power sector is one of those sectors that investors will always crave to enter into, especially in a country like Nigeria, where we have such infrastructure deficits and a growing population that requires industrialization. And I say it again, one of the boldest reforms this government have done is to decentralize power production and distribution to allow states to control grid production, power production and grid control. They can also go further to draw the lines. Most of these discos are the owners of these discos. They remember that the time period given to them, the grace period given to them has expired. The federal government should go ahead, do further amendment in the relevant acts, and ensure that captive power projects, this issue of national grid, we have to emphasize it. This national grid should be unbundled into 6. I've said it. Transdisco should be unbundled into 6. Let each region control their own. This idea that you must have to put power in national grid for it to be supplied, let it be something that those within their regions can actually do. We need to bring further reforms. Look at Nigeria today. We have access to electricity less than 52%. In real terms, not what they try to put there out there as numbers. In places like South Africa and Egypt, access to electricity is 100%. And for a country like Nigeria that really need energy, power infrastructure to be able to grow and industrialize. We need to do more than even some clumsily giving warnings to discos and the other guys. You saw what happened at Gerego, the kind of nonsense that happened there. May God have mercy on us in this country.
I'm tempted to say amen. Well, thankfully, Geregu has made that payment. But we're all waiting to know what exactly happened, because it's important we understand what happened. You know, talking about the escrow account and, you know, conversations in that regard. Away from that, Dr. Oluwatola, do we need clarification on what underperformance would actually mean? Maybe we need to get the details so Nigerians can be ready and sure that, you know, the ministry is ready to really walk the talk.
Yeah, that's a great point, and I align with what Dr. Obiaraeri said, that the errors started with the nature of the privatization, and also the performance improvement plan that was agreed to in the privatization said that if, you know, the vesting contracts that the discos got, for example, said that they will drop aggregate technical, commercial, and collection losses down to 15%, or lose the concessions in 5 years, at the review cycles in 5 years. 2 review cycles have come and gone, and not much has happened to make the vast majority of the discos. Okay, so Yola and Ibadan in receivership. Abuja was ownership was changed, you know, but the truth is that the vast majority of cases we've not seen the consequences that was supposed to happen for poor performance. And I think more than ever, after the tariff review, in the early years, we could argue that a big part of the reason why that investment wasn't happening was that the income was not cost reflective, and was not significant. But today, Band A customers pay way over cost reflective tariff, pay significantly over cost reflective tariff, enough to subsidize the other users on the grid. So there really isn't any justification, at least in, you know, as far as we can tell from the cost reflectiveness of the tariff, for not making the requisite investment to reduce technical, commercial, and collection losses, and meter everyone, and reduce those losses to a reasonable number. It makes no sense that every time you put power on the grid, we only expect 50% of the money back. It makes no sense that that's the case. No one in their right mind will build a new generator knowing that the commercial money that is coming back is 50% of the money he puts in. So there needs to be consequences, and that begins with identifying the source of the leakages. So when we say that TCN technical losses at the transmission level is 10%, in the normal world, that should never be more than 2 or 3%. When we say that our transmission stations are consuming 2% of the power that gets fed on the grid, that's insane. Why are you running the grid on 2% of the power? So there are you know, several stages, and then when we get to the distribution level and we say losses are close to 40%, that is atrocious. So there needs to be metering and transparency across board in the sector, and it's only when you have transparency that you can then appropriately penalize as required to make sure that there's accountability in the sector. And without that, we're not going anywhere. I do agree with caveats to what Dr. Obiaraeri said about focusing on what works in the sector, which is decentralized power. But there's no way we can expect an efficient power sector without at least believing that fixing what allows the sector to work properly and for power to flow from where it is being efficiently generated to where it is required the most, and that needs to without a doubt we still need to fix the grid if we want the sector to be as efficient as it can be. But I do agree with him that right now Nigeria needs quick wins. Our industrialization cannot wait for the power sector to get its act together. So right now, I did say the last time we spoke about this, that there is a portion of Nigeria's grid today on any given day, about 200 and almost 300 megawatts of power is sold directly from gencos to Nigerian companies, industries like Camp Steel and others. And those transactions are settled 100%. Nobody owes anybody. Every day, the power is sold and people are paying 100% for the power. That part of the sector is working. Whatever it is making that part of the sector work, let's replicate that success across the grid, and let's replicate that success in other industrial zones. And then the lessons we learn from that, let's translate it to the grid writ large, and we will get closer to solving the power sector problems.
You know, I just want to sound a bit like the devil's advocate. From what you both said, it seems to me like failure already stares us right in the face, and so maybe the minister should act already. Is that what you're saying?
I think that there are clearly areas where penalties are already evident. And yes, I agree with you. The minister should put his money where his mouth is and let's start seeing some penalties.
All right, thank you so much. Dr. Obiaraeri, let's have your parting shot on this one, then we'll go.
The issue we have is most of the owners of the power assets are party, any government in power with those in government. If we actually are serious, in fact, the first 5 years will have been the first opportunity for us to have revoked all the licenses and they put the assets back to bid to get technically capable, deep-pocketed, well-meaning investors to come into us. We need $25 billion in the immediacy and $100 billion over the next 10 years to be able to grant 100% power access to Nigerians, covering over 140,000 communities. It can only happen when we are very sincere and honest with ourselves. Basically, what we are just seeing is just huffing and puffing emptily. They won't do anything. Come back here next 4 years, it's the same thing. When we are serious to fix our power needs, we know what to do.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nnaemeka Obiaraeri, Economic Development Economist and Investment Banker. Thank you. And Dr. Tobi Oluwatola, Chief Executive Officer, Tower Energy. Thank you also for gracing the show for today.